Red Bull driver Max Verstappen won his fourth consecutive Formula One title at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which was dominated by Mercedes and won by George Russell. But Verstappen left the strip with his fourth title in the bag, and afterwards he had some harsh words for his naysayers, and especially the ones criticising him on the grid, of whom Norris has been one of in recent months. With sole remaining championship contender Lando Norris working in a distinctively uncompetitive McLaren, Verstappen, who just needed to finish ahead, had him well covered off throughout the race, flying to the finish to claim the title with 2 rounds to spare despite sliding off the podium in his final stint. Verstappen became the 6th driver in history to win 4 successive Formula One championships after Juan Manuel Fangio, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and Lewis Hamilton. He admits to feeling relieved after clinching his 4th Formula One title, despite under intense pressure in the midst of the 2024 season. Verstappen's 7 Grand Prix victories in the first 10 races clearly suggested that he was on track for another uncontested title run, especially given the competition's tendency to make mistakes. But McLaren began to put on the pressure in the second part of the year, with Lando Norris gradually building on his breakthrough win in Miami and emerging from the summer in terrific form. At that same time, Norris brought out the verbal battle, stating Verstappen could only challenge in a car that was faster than others, and saying on multiple occasions that he had been helped by luck. At the same time, Red Bull, for its part, had begun to suffer with balance concerns, prompting Verstappen to state at that stage in the season that it would be tough for the team to maintain its hold on both titles. But, at the same time, it ignited a fire within him. He wasn't the one to let those comments slide. It's been a long season, and of course we started off amazing. It was almost like cruising, but then we had a tough run, Verstappen said. But as a team, we kept it together. We kept working on improvements, and we pulled it over the line. I'm incredibly proud of everyone, what they have done for me. To stand here as a 4-time world champion is of course something that I never thought was possible. So, yeah, at the moment just feeling relieved in a way, but also very proud. It was a very challenging season. I think also as a person at times it's very challenging and I had to be calm. I think in a way I still preferred last season. I enjoyed that a lot, but I think this season definitely has lessons that I'm very proud of. We handled it also as a team, so, in a way, that makes it also very special and a beautiful season. Verstappen indicated that his domination in the 2023 season had spoilt his supporters, and he praised them, as well as the Red Bull team, for their patience during the year. He confessed that he was now eager to compete for his 5th crown, but that the battle will be considerably more difficult next season. It's always amazing to see them everywhere supporting me. I think they got a bit spoiled last year with all the wins. So they had to wait for a long time in the middle of the season, but incredible support always. To the team, what can I say? We have been through a lot together and all these highs that we are achieving right now. It is just very special to do that with all the group of people that we have here at the track and back at the factory. They're continuously pushing flat out to give me the car to fight for a title, and to do that 4 times in a row is very special. If you look at next year right now, I think it's going to be a proper battle between a lot of cars. But yeah, I'm hungry, of course. I'm going to enjoy this, but there are still 2 more races that I want to do well at the same time. And then, of course, we take a little break, and then we try and go at it again next year. In the end, Norris couldn't do it, in a car that, in all honesty, was the better one for the most part of the season. Some might even say that he had the best car on the grid from round 6 onwards. Perhaps this was one of the reasons Norris was so grumpy throughout the season. Things could have gone way different this season for Norris, but there were some key moments where he and McLaren failed to make the title battle more exciting. For example, Norris failed to profit on Verstappen's grid penalty in Spa amid Mercedes' resurgence. Red Bull had known since Verstappen's engine electrics drama in FP2 in Canada that he would need to take an additional power unit, and for the 3rd year in a row, they chose to have him incur the ensuing grid penalty at Spa, knowing overtaking was easier there. Even with DRS, this would be difficult and costly for Norris. However, the engine swap story meant Verstappen's apparent victory chance was dashed through no fault of his own, as he led qualifying by 0.6 seconds before being forced to start 11th on the grid due to the drop. However, Norris could only qualify 5th, because cars that stopped to change to new inters found time late in Q3, when he did not. Then, in the race, Verstappen made another rapid charge up the order in his home race, while Norris was penalised for a gravel strike on the Turn 1 exit, costing him 3 positions. When Norris botched a pass on Sainz ahead, he was locked behind the Ferrari for the first stint, and Verstappen undercut him during the first pit stop. Norris pushed his competitor to the finish with younger tyres, but was unable to mount an attack. Thus, the margin between them remained at 78 points when the summer break began. But the real deal-breaker came later on in the season, where Verstappen performed Interlagos magic, snapping Norris's dreams. McLaren had left Baku with its team orders problem that haunted them throughout the season, resolved, but the issue would not come up again until the Interlagos sprint race, after Verstappen had been penalised twice for forcing Norris off in Mexico, where the McLaren had the pace to win but could only split the Ferraris, with Sainz winning on that occasion. In the first Brazil race, Piastri began on pole after minor mistakes in SQ3 made former pacey setter Norris beatable. In the shortened race, Piastri led the early stages, followed by Norris, Leclerc, and Verstappen. He had eventually overtaken the Ferrari and was closing up on Norris when McLaren instructed Piastri to allow his teammate by. Surprisingly, this occurred just minutes before a virtual safety car activation was requested for Hülkenberg's stalled Haas. The next day, Verstappen was eliminated in Q2 due to Red Bull's run plan going astray around the accidents of Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll in the rainy conditions, as well as Verstappen's lack of progress following the first of these red lights. His grid penalty for needing to add a 6th internal combustion engine element of the year following an issue with his practice engine the previous week in Mexico exacerbated the situation, as he started 17th. But Verstappen went on to win with a drive for the ages, making dive after dive at the top of the Senna S. Pole sitter Norris was overtaken by Russell as the race began, and while Norris ultimately passed the Mercedes, the pair's important pre-red flag pit stops allowed Verstappen and the Alpines to take the lead. Norris then went off as Verstappen finished his victory storm, and they departed Interlagos separated by 62 points. Another coronation was finally within reach for the Dutchman, and to be crowned once again he only had to finish ahead of Norris in Las Vegas, and that was exactly what he did, resulting in a downbeat Norris. But then, only then, was Norris able to acknowledge what had happened during the season. Massive congrats to him, he's deserved it. He's not put a foot wrong really the whole year. That's a strength of his. He has no downsides, he has no negatives. When he's had the quickest car, he dominated races. When he's not in the quickest car, he's still been just behind us and almost winning the races anyway. He's just not had a bad side to him. He's not had any bad races the whole year. He's just drove as Max has always driven, which is perfectly, and can't fault him anyway, Norris said. But even after those words, Norris still had to downplay the achievement, because it was the first time Norris has battled for the World Championship, while Verstappen has now won 4 in a row. Some of its experience, I think he still had a relatively easy season. I think, if we had a better car at the beginning of the year, we would have been fighting him a lot more. He would have been under pressure, a lot more pressure than he's ever been, Norris added. As soon as we did add pressure, he made mistakes. The team made mistakes, but over the course of the season, that's very few in terms of what he's done, and that's what makes him so good. He's not had a bad qualifying. He's not at a bad race. I think his worst race was probably Budapest. He still finished 5th. He just gets everything out of the car every time. It's always impressive to see. There's always things to learn, Norris concluded. Norris hopes that he'll be the world champion the next time F1 comes around to Las Vegas. However, Verstappen doesn't seem to take it easy next year. So, has this been Verstappen's best season yet? Winning the title in a non-dominant car, showing everyone just how good he is, and clinching the title with still 2 races to go in a season where his car has been 3rd best most of the time. And does Norris or anyone else stand a chance next year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.